All right, what's up, everybody? All right, good to be back for another stream. It's always good to be back. Um, we had a lot of stuff happen over the weekend. We had the Briar news. We're all pretty excited about that. We have the fact that Briar did not LL, um, but with that being said, I mean, she's obviously very, very close in the next event that she takes down. For it to ultimately be true, she has to not win Singapore Calling or um, she has to not win the Singapore Calling or the Battle Hardened in Los Angeles. The one in Baltimore doesn't matter. That's team sealed, so it can in no way apply or team whatever. It's a team event that is not CC, so it cannot apply points toward Briar. So we don't have to worry about that problem, right? What's up, everybody in chat? Thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I know a lot of people were, yeah, me and my homies hate Briar. Yeah, there was a lot of people like conceding. I heard one story where everybody in top eight just unanimously conceded to the one Briar player. Don't know if there's any validity behind that, but uh, it would be funny nonetheless. That would be hilarious. Yeah. Um, James is right. If she's not gone by July 3rd, then she will win one Nats more than likely because you have to think like the smaller countries I think they reward like 10 points, which is more than enough. So um, it's very easy. She just needs to take down one country's Nats. That's post. So we'll still get to play with her during the Nat season, but she will more than likely not be around for Worlds, would be my guess. But maybe the meta's not in a really good spot for her, and it gets delayed even further. Who knows? Um, Play an arcane build of Briar for the sauce. Yeah, that that's probably the one that I haven't worked on. Um, just because I feel like I'd rather just do Viscera if I'm doing that. Um, it kind of seems disadvantageous to pursue that type of deck build with Briar. But so we got great news that Briar did not LL. Well, I guess it depends on who you are on whether it was great news or not. For me, it's kind of bittersweet, right? I was kind of ready to move on, and try something else. But at the same time, you know, I actually get to play with my spoiler card, which is awesome, right? That was something that was kind of in the back of my mind. I don't want to spoil a card and not be able to play with it. So I will get at least one season with it, which is great. Looking forward to that a lot. So, what's the game plan for today? The game plan for today is we are shaking it up a little bit. Not like too much, but I'm gonna try something a little bit more formal on the. I made a very quick like PowerPoint for the topic today. Just a couple slides. We're not getting too serious. I just wanted to try something and see if the feedback is positive or negative. Is it a better direction? Is it a worse direction? Should I just talk into the camera and talk about these things, or you know, is visual aid worth it? Is kind of what I'm testing here. So feel free to tell me if you like it, don't like it. I'm all ears. So I got a little. It's not that long. Once again, we're gonna keep it kind of short. We're gonna play some games after, of course, kind of chill, hang out, and go from there. Update from the weekend: invite was secured. Went to a draft RTN and got top four on that one. So uh, I would love to see everybody in Las Vegas. Can't wait. Super excited. Um, I am a big time poker fan. Used to be a cash game grinder a few years ago. like pretty serious. I think I played like 20, 25 hours a week at least. Um, kind of way back. And yeah, I'm looking forward to play a couple games of poker too while I'm in Vegas. It's just something that I enjoy. Uh, I don't like table games like blackjack, stuff like that. Um, just because like I, I can't outsmart the house because they set up the math in a certain way to where I can't. Um, but as poker, I could be a better player. So I enjoy that. I'm gonna go do that. Don't know what day. So whether I see you at the card table or the other card table, looking forward to see everybody in Las Vegas. It'll be a great event, I'm sure. For me, this is my first time in Vegas for Fab. I did not go to the first calling. I did not go to the world premiere. So my first big event, like calling size, was US Nats in 2021, which I placed 20th in. That was my first like above an RTN sized event that I ever played at. I did not go to Vegas, Dallas, or Cincinnati in that little circuit that they did in the US. I did not go to the first three. I just went to the last one. That's when I like really started taking the game serious kind of thing and started like traveling for it. So I'm really looking forward to Vegas. I think it'll be a great time. If you see me there, please say something. Even if it's just hi, how's the games going, how you doing in the tournament, whatever, just say something. Just mention the stream, let me know, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, right? Tell me what I can do better. I'm all ears. Nothing's perfect. Always striving for uh to make things better and provide more value to people. So, um yeah, I went over Briar LL. We did the I got the invite, and yeah, I guess we can go ahead and hop in to the topic. How is everybody doing in chat? Yep, hate Rosetta, not Briar. I mean, how can you hate Rosetta when three of a kind exist, right? Like pick your battles, I guess. I don't know. Like Rosetta used to be a problem. Now I don't think it's is it the best weapon in the game? Okay, maybe. But it's a very situational weapon. It's not like Voltaire where it does the same thing every single turn. Um Make a secret handshake for Patreon members. That's such a good idea. That is such a good idea. If I show up, you're signing a copy of Anthem of Spring. I'd love to. I would love to. Anytime I can engage with the community, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm down for anything as long as it's legal. I'll sign something. Does not matter. I'm down. So yeah, that made me. Oh yeah. Just so everybody's aware, I'm still offering coaching. The rate is $30 an hour. I can go over anything you want, review gameplay, deck building, deck tweaks, getting ready for Nats. We can just do like broad, teaching, basically, going over value and stuff like that, how to play the game on a higher level in general. Really, just whatever you're looking to get out of it, I'm more than willing to work with you and get you ready for that next tournament. So we will go ahead and hop into the next topic. So the topic for today is going to be tempo. Oh, look at the PowerPoint. Now you'll have to forgive me, right? Because like my PowerPoint game is not on the Joshua Lau level because I'm not a professor like he is. So bear with me, and we will. And on top of that, I did make this like literally. I made this about an hour and a half ago. So work with me here. Work with me. So yeah, we're going over tempo today. Kind of what is it? And the reason I wanted to talk about tempo today was it's one of those things where something that Josh kind of talked to me on the ride up to the RTN that we went to this weekend. He said something along the lines of you can realize how much somebody knows about something whether they can teach it to somebody else or not. Kind of another way of saying it is you don't fully understand something unless you can teach it to somebody else. And I think tempo is one of those things where a lot of people like have a very surface level of understanding. And I'm trying to like break that and add a lot of depth to a lot of the players and help them understand what tempo is, how you can leverage it, right? So, if there's any physics fans, physics, engineering, math, if you enjoy any of those things, you're gonna love this one. But if you don't worry. It doesn't get like into the weeds at all. It's like super simple, but you can understand where a lot of the stuff comes from a math basis, and it'll make a lot of sense if you do like that type of stuff. So bear with me, and we will hop right into it. All right. So we have to answer the most important question, right, chat? Who gives a shit what tempo is? Right? Why do we care? Well, understanding tempo helps you pivot, right? What do I mean by pivot? Well, in certain games, right, we've all been in that situation where we're taking a lot of damage to make a big play, right? And understanding tempo lets you assess how much damage you are going to have to take to make said pivot, right? And that is all based on tempo. Is when my opponent has to block with cards they would rather keep. The guy I talked to under the bridge. Overplayed the value game with my Great Bow deck. Tried to match turn by turn tempo besides sandbagging tempo early. So, yep. And yeah, so when it also helps you identify when you should abandon setup strategies, right? Let's say you're a Bolton player, right? And you're doing the whole Lumina combo with sabers. There comes a point in the game where if you are monitoring tempo correctly, you very quickly recognize that you can no longer combo, right? Because you need to keep the cards in your hand, and you're not going to be able to take around the 8 to 10 life, you're not going to be able to take the damage and then execute the combo. So understanding tempo will help you recognize when you need to pivot off of that strategy, even though it's the main strategy within your deck. Illusionist. Illusionist players operate on tempo more than any other deck. And I have a whole slide just dedicated to Illusionist. Kind of. It's heavily toward them, not completely. But and it's also one of the most important factors in the limited format. I think it's because the reason it's so important is there's very few opportunities in limited where you can make said pivot. Or Joshua, he's smiling in chat because there's a PowerPoint. We're trying something new here, Josh. We're trying something. Yeah, we're branching out. We're branching out. So key aspect of limited, right? And because you're at such a small life total that there's only a few opportunities, you know, a good example would be like, do you arsenal a Rouse the Ancients or a Zealous Belting if you're Guardian, right? If you're at really low life, if you don't understand the amount of tempo you have in the game at the current moment in time, you won't be able to execute those cards to their full potential, right? With the Hammer Swing after, and Anathos for Bravo as well. Or I guess Anathos isn't strictly for Bravo anymore, even though it's about to go back to that. With the whole LL situation. So that is why you should give a shit about tempo. That is why. Okay. So for my math fans, this is the tempo equation, if you will. Now it's super simple. Like I said, you don't have to be all into math to understand what is going on here. Okay. It's very simple. All it is the estimated value or the offensive value of your hand versus the estimated offensive value of your opponent's hand equals your current tempo. Okay, let me give you an example. We'll use the one at the bottom here, right? Let's say my hand offensively produces 12 damage, but my opponent did not block it with any cards, right? And their hand produces 14 damage, then I'm at a -2 value for tempo. Now, what is the unit for tempo? The unit for tempo would be life, right? It's how much life you have to sacrifice to play your hand offensively the way you want to. Okay? That is what tempo is, right? Trying to teach my son this with 5. Yeah, tempo is not value, right? Value is exactly what it is. If this card blocks for 3, it has a value of 3, right? Or if it attacks for 4, it has a value of 4. If you play it in that manner, right? Tempo is the delta between your hand's value offensively and your opponent's hand value offensively as well, right? And that will give us a number that we will have to sacrifice to play our hand offensively. Okay. So, like I mentioned before, if the number that results is negative, you have negative tempo. Okay. Or you don't have tempo. Your opponent has tempo. Okay. Yes. And there's a good point in chat right now that understanding the ratios amongst heroes is so different. And you need to have a base knowledge of your opponent's average offensive value per card in hand, right? So as an example, let's say you're looking at your full hand of cards and Oldham has 2 cards in hand, no arsenal. What is the offensive value of his hand? Well, more than likely it's 4 because he's going to swing hammer and arsenal, right? So, but you need to know that. You don't need to just say, oh, it's 3 value per card, because Oldham has a very particular play pattern that you need to recognize. Now, Viserai, 16 damage the turn before to keep his 5-card hand. What's the estimated value on that? Well, it could be 30, right? We don't know that. We're guessing, right? And that brings me to the last point. Some hands naturally have more tempo, right? The more value the better the hand you draw, the more you naturally seize tempo. And it's more that your opponent is going to have to sacrifice on the life front to pressure yours back is the net result. Now, not all tempo is created equal, right? There's 2 concepts. Anybody that appreciates physics can appreciate this presentation. All I took was a thermodynamics class and basically converted it to fab. Is basically what I did. And so potential tempo is a concept of making a tempo negative play as an investment, if you will, right? You're investing in future tempo. So it's tempo negative at time of execution, but has a tempo payoff later in the game. An example of this would be Ash Generation, right? You're pitching a red card, which goes against the fab, philosophy of pitching blues, getting more value from resources, but you're getting a benefit, right? You're getting a resource that you can use later to lay down dragons, right? And items would be a good example of this, right? Anytime you play an induction chamber with dash, right? You're giving up 2 cards in action point, but later in the game, you're paid off with more tempo because you can more efficiently attack. Seismic Surge is one that often goes overlooked in this manner because a lot of players kind of just naturally, I've seen a lot of Bravo players swing hammer for 6 for no reason, right? Let me give you an example. Does this come up in the test? Yeah, it's going to be on the test, Chris. Absolutely. But Josh is going to be the one giving the test because that's what he does. So why is seismic surge a potential tempo or a tempo investment? Well, I see a lot of Bravo players, like I'll play Channel Mount Heroic and then they'll swing hammer for 6, right? And let's break it down in a 2-card exchange, right? They're pitching 2 cards that block for 3 each to present 6 damage and create a resource for the next turn. Okay? So theoretically, unless they pitched a unmovable or something weird like that, the cards have the same value on defense as they do offense. But why did he not block 3 damage before and only hammer for 4? Right? Because theoretically, that's more efficient to just pitch 1 card and swing for 4 and then block for 3. That way you get 7 value every time with Bravo if you block with that second blue and then just pitch and hammer for 4. Okay? So you're guaranteed getting a value of 7. Why would you swing for 6 and potentially get the value of 7 on the discounted attack? Well, it's because a lot of his cards come in that have the cost of 4 or 7. If you look at a lot of Bravo cards, they have those cost structures built in. So, but what you need to recognize is if your opponent plays a Channel Mount Heroic, that's not the time to be hammering for 6, right? Because you're not going to take all that damage to throw a more efficient Spinal Crush, right? You're not going to eat 21 to do that. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, do you hammer for 6 when the Channel Mount Heroic isn't visible on the board? Absolutely, right? Because you need to be ready to disrupt, right? That's a valid point. In understanding the tempo behind that is kind of why we're going over this. Also, arsenal selection. A lot of times when this is real big for Rune Blades, but it applies to a lot of other heroes as well. Warriors, any class that really gets a lot of value from a 5th card or very specific cards in combination with other cards. So an example of that would be like arsenaling a Mordred-Tide, where you would get 2 to 3 value off of it. You might get 4 if you wait for a cash in, or vice versa, the other way around. You arsenal the cash in, wait for a better hand, and then play it and get more value, right? But you could play it and get immediate tempo right then and there. But arsenaling it not when you draw it is a form of potential tempo. Okay? Then you have kinetic tempo, which is the realization of your previous tempo investment of potential tempo. Okay? This would be creating dragons from the ash that you created earlier in the game, pitching ridiculous red cards to create. This would be the discounted attacks on Bravo. This is your payoff, right? Your board state with dash, potions, popping your E-pots, things like that. Frost Hex, Insidious Chill. Insidious Chill is a great example of potential and kinetic tempo, right? It's hugely tempo negative to play Chill Out. 2-card investment doesn't do anything for damage the turn you play it. But then you eke out a lot more tempo over the next 4 to 5 turns. As you fuse things, you get more and more in tempo, and you hopefully come out positive is the idea. Okay? And what you can kind of do is, I know this looks very scary, right? But it's not. Okay? On the left, right? I just wanted to give you like a representation. Counter on Dawnblade. Yeah, counter on Dawnblade is tempo. That's a fact. So all this is a good way to think about it just visually how it can be represented on a turn to turn basis, right? So the first turn of the game, you and this also, the graph on the left kind of shows what your tempo can look like throughout a game, right? Because tempo is also not a static number. It's kind of a number that rolls over turn by turn, right? Because if somebody theoretically, let's say 5 theoretically maintains tempo for, you know, 5 turns in a row. What is the life if I has full tempo just about for 4 to 5 turns in a row, what's the life total going to look like? There's going to be a drastic life difference in favor of 5 more than likely. Unless it's another deck that just isn't trying to seize tempo, but just get the life down total and then let tempo be decided on that. So this would be a good example of a deck that, you know, had a net positive of tempo of 3 into 1 and then started to lose tempo, right? And theoretically, the area underneath this line, for the math fans, that would be the integral, and that would represent the life gap, right? Theoretically. And there's other things that factor into that, right? It would be, you know, were they trying to accomplish tempo? Were they just blocking, right? That factors into it as well. But if you were to graph your tempo out, right? This one right here, your offensive hand was 15, theirs was 12. You pull ahead by 3. Then you do the same thing, you pull ahead by 1. So you're ahead on 4 life, right? Because you add those two together, right? So, and then they started to lose tempo, right? Is a good way to represent it. And why do we care about that, right? And the one on the right is just the slope is a simple, or I guess technically this would be the tangent line, which is the derivative, but it's just an instantaneous slope. The tempo at a given point is what that would be. Okay. So going back to why we care about tempo and what we want to extract from knowing about tempo is we need to know how much life we have to work with a given situation. Let me give you an example. Okay. You're a Briar player, right? And you want to play your Channel Mount Heroic. Okay. So if you want to play your Channel Mount Heroic, then let's use the example that you're at 10 life. Let's say you were not thinking about tempo in any manner during your Flesh and Blood game. If you Yes, Josh is right. Important note: the start of the game is x equals 0, not y equals 0. Yep. Yeah, I just pulled that from like a Google image. I did this super quick, like in an hour. So I apologize if it's not accurate in every single way. But yes, the x-axis would be the turn, and then the y would be the tempo or delta value, if you will. So yeah, going back, you want to play your Channel Mount Heroic, you're at 10 life. Okay. If you are at 10 life and you want to play your Channel Mount Heroic, but you have full tempo, there is no cost exchange for you playing that Channel Mount Heroic and then playing a 0 for 7. Right? But if you don't have tempo in the current situation, right? Then if you play the Channel Mount Heroic out, oh yeah. You're right, Josh. Yeah, the turn 2 player would. Yeah, the person on the play would theoretically, or on the. The person going second in the game would start at a higher tempo value, absolutely. But you would have to take away the value of the any leaked damage, and the arsenal card and the filter. You would have to factor in the value of those three aspects, along with anything that carries over, and then decrease that from the tempo because that would be the offset. Um, but like I said, you're at 10 life. You want to play the Chinaman Heroic. If you have full tempo, there's no cost opportunity or life given up to execute the Chinaman Heroic. But let's say you're in a middle tempo situation, right? Like the value is 0. You don't really have tempo, but neither do they, right? Well, then to play that, you're going to have to take a little bit of damage, right? And then on the second turn, you're going to have to block with a lot of cards or maybe a card and get less value from the Chinaman Heroic. Whereas let's say you're trying to play a Chinaman Heroic at low life into a negative tempo situation. Well, then you're literally only going to get one attack, maybe two attacks off of the exchange, because you're going to be on the back foot. You're the turn after you play it, you're going to go down to you're going to have to go down to 2 to play it, and then you have to defend to not die on the following turn, and so you're not going to get that much value out of it. Let's look at dash as an example, right? Does it make sense to play an induction chamber at 10 life? Are you going to get the payoff from playing that item? Right? That's the why here, right? That's why we give a shit, right? I'm not just trying to make up numbers and complicated processes to give you one more thing to think about while you're playing. I'm trying to create a kind of, this is something that you don't draw your hands and count it, right? It's just something that you need to be cognizant of, and this gives you a way to think about it, right? So you're a Briar player and you draw your Chinaman Heroic. The first thing you should do is look at your life total and say, how much am I working with? Do I have enough room to play it? What's the current state in the game? Look at their hand. He only has 2 cards in hand. I'm at 20 life. This channel is getting played, right? Whereas it's a different scenario if you're at 10 life, right? In no way is this, are you supposed to sit here and draw your hands and say, okay, this is a -3 tempo hand, right? No, but we're not going to Michael Hamilton that. We're not doing it, right? There's no point in that. I'm just using these figures, these numbers, the thought process to give you an idea of how you should be looking at the game from a macro perspective as you progress through the game. So that way you know whether certain ideas are good or bad, right? For example, Dorinthia. Steelblade's Supremacy is not a good card when you're at 5 life, right? Because you're going to typically have to block with 2 cards, and you never play Steelblade Supremacy on an empty hand with all information presented out. Because then it just says +2, and that's very bad value, right? Now, Warrior's Valor is fine because there is a potential payoff of an action point in a second swing if they do not block it, right? But Supremacy, not so much. So every class has these exchanges, right? As a Dromai player, you need to recognize the point in the game, and I think this is where a lot of Dromai players kind of fall short. There comes a point in the game where there's an Ash generation cycle, and then there is, I need to recognize the benefit, or we need to see the realization of the Ash that I created earlier and stop generating it. And you need to time that perfectly. If you die, think of it this way. If you lose the game and you have 4 Ash, then theoretically you pitched 4 red cards to do something that was so below rate. I don't care what you did in the deck. I don't care if you played it doesn't matter. If you are pitching a red card to do something in a Dromai deck, it is below rate because you're spending 2 cards to do. Now, is the combination of the Ash and the Dragon above rate? Yes, you could argue that. Chromai is above rate. I'm not saying that Dromai is a below rate hero. What I'm saying is the process of generating Ash is very inefficient and very below rate in tempo negative. And if you lose the game with a bunch of Ash sent behind you, then there were times in the game where you should have prioritized other cards that didn't make Ash, that you could play without pitching. Maybe you should have prioritized Azraeli over Yindarai, or whatever the case may be, because it's a 0-cost dragon versus a 1, right? Recognizing the tempo cycles and where you are at in the game and what your resources are looking like, both Ash and life, you can say, okay, I'll prioritize 0-cost dragons over the 1-cost dragons, right? What's another example? What about Brute, right? And holding back for your Blood Rush Bellow, right? Blood Rush Bellow doesn't do anything when you block with 3 cards, right? So you need to understand where the game is at, so that way if you were trying to have a big burst turn or a setup turn, you have the and let's take it one step further. Just like I referenced, I think it was 2 streams ago, about the runway, right? The concept of creating runway to execute certain strategies, right? Is, if you have a Blood Rush Bellow, right, in Arsenal, and you are, how do you calculate tempo with Kano? That's a very good point. And it basically comes down to tempo with Kano is just if your opponent is ABing or not. That's the only, they have the say so in all the tempo, because you just kill them if they don't, right? But it is tempo positive for you if they AB, is the way you should look at it. Does the Arsenal count as a point toward tempo count or value count on a card like Macrospeak? It does, depending on what the card is doing, right? If it's a sync below, then you would look at the card as a subtraction from their end, right? Let's say they have a hand that does 10 damage offensively. Well, and you have a sync below in Arsenal. Well, then they're at a theoretical 6 if you play it, right? But back to my example, Blood Rush Bellow in Arsenal for Brute, right? And you're at that mid-game, 20 life. Well, let's say you have the option to play a yellow Smash Instinct. If I'm not mistaken, that's a card that requires a pitch and swings for 6, right? Well, you can make that play. But let's say theoretically you took 6 damage to make that play, right? Then what you've done is, let's say you went down to 14 to then throw a Smash Instinct at them. Now, 90% of Brute cards block for 3. So theoretically, the Smash Instinct has a value of 3 on each card. 3 on the Smash Instinct, 3 on the card you pitched for it. So you presented 6 damage when you could have blocked 6 damage, right? Assuming there was more damage to block on the other end. Well, if you have Blood Rush Bellow in Arsenal, it's more than likely the case it's better to defend with those cards. That way, you're at 20 life for the next hand when you want to execute it instead of 14. Because if you are, let's say you have no armor left and they have a big 20 damage turn following and you're at 14, well, now you have to give up 2 cards. And Blood Rush Bellow on a, 2-card Arsenal is way, way more gambling than say just blocking with 1 card, right? It means a huge difference because you're just kind of mitigating what you get off the top. Because you can always hold back at least 1 of 2 cards, whichever one's not discarded. So that's the idea. We're trying to recognize tempo at certain points in the game so that way we can make decision points that go along with what we're trying to execute. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Briar players with no tempo try to play Channel Mount Heroic at 10 life, and it just never works out. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you make a big 2-card investment in something you're not going to get any value out of? They just get fixated on, this is a power card, I have to play this. And that's not just not optimal, right? Dash isn't playing items at 5 life. When's the last time you saw a Dash play a Teklo Pounder at 5 life? Doesn't make no damn sense. They're going to die before they get the 3 counters, right? It just doesn't make any sense. And that's the main reason why we're going over this. It's not the math. We're not doing math every single hand. We're not card counting. We're just trying to set. It's kind of. I'm just trying to make sure it's not one of those unknown. You don't know what you don't know, right? And so I'm just trying to expose this concept to people so that way they can always keep it before they set out on a plan, right? When they look at their hand and they say, oh man, there's that Teklo Pounder. Oh, I really like Teklo Pounder, right? As most Dash players do. And then this whole topic is to train all the players to immediately just look at the life pad and say, what do I have to work with? Right? How much longer theoretically does this game go so that way I can execute all 3 counters off of the Teklo Pounder? Right? Same thing could be said for max velocity, right? Are you going to put a max velocity in your arsenal when you're at 5 life? No, because you're not going to play 3 boost cards because you're going to die trying to do that. And you might as well put an Eye of Ophidia in your arsenal because they're going to do the exact same thing. They're just going to sit there, right? That's why we care about tempo. And that's why. So just a quick recap, super real quick for anybody that joined us. We basically just wanted to give reasons on why we care, right? Very important limited. There's few pivot points. You need to know when to jump ship on certain strategies. Gave the example of like Bolton, when to pivot off of combo and recognize you need to find another avenue to win. A good example of that, we played a team league match, and Josh had to pivot from the combo strategy to fatiguing a dash, and recognizing the tempo situation is what allowed him to execute that strategy. And the tempo equation is just the offensive value of your hand minus the offensive value of your opponent's hand equals the current tempo. If that number is negative, you have less tempo than your opponent. If it's positive, you actually hold more tempo. Yes, that does require you to have a basic understanding of what your opponent's average value of their offensive hand is, based off of how many cards they have in their hand. So you need to know the scalability of your opponent's hero. Okay, tempo is a unit of life. Basically, how much you're going to have to sacrifice. Tempo is not value. It's just the delta of value from offensive hand to offensive hand, right? And some hands just naturally have more tempo, right? If you drop a Channel Mount Heroic, you theoretically should get a lot more tempo, right? Because your opponent is going to have to take a lot more damage to play their cards offensively. Then you have the whole potential and kinetic tempo, right? We take a tempo negative spot to have a payoff later in the game. This is in form of Ash Generations into Dragons, Seismic Surges into efficient attacks, because it's the only way Guardians can have efficient attacks, and Arsenal selection and kind of like board state with Dash, E-Pots, Time Snap Potions, things like that. Are tempo negative at play, right? Because you're using an action point in a card to do nothing, but you're getting explosiveness, aka more tempo later in the game. And they kind of showed tempo progression, but like Josh mentioned, the second player, the person going second, would start at a higher tempo, starting on the x-axis or the y-axis. Yeah. So that is going to go ahead and conclude the talking portion Let me know in chat whether that was better, worse. Do you like just the chatting format, or do you like the kind of visual aid kind of thing? Granted, that was done very quickly. I did that PowerPoint in like literally an hour before I started the stream. Um, so give me a break on that. But is it a good idea? Should I continue? Should I keep experimenting, refining? Um, Looking forward to any feedback on that. But now we're gonna, since she didn't LL, why not play Briar? Right? Makes a lot of sense. Why wouldn't we? So we're gonna go ahead and hop in, just chill, hang out, play some games. I'm gonna try to as good as much as I can. I'm going to try to mention tempo as many times as I can, and kind of what we learned and how we can apply it to our games, right? Um, in these next games that we play on the gameplay part. So that way you can kind of see it in action. I'm not doing the math hand to hand, right? I'm not doing that. It's too much to be doing that. You're just gonna fatigue yourself in like 2 matches if you try to do all those calculations. I'm just using the concept as a thinking point for certain play patterns, right? Whenever I see a channel Mahara, look at that life pad, right? Understand where I'm at in the game, how much longer I expect the game to go. That way I can make the optimum play. It was in private. We just bamboozled all the stream snipers. We just bamboozled them. We're still going to get sniped, though. I already know it. Already know it. In what world did LSS miscount the LL points? Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? Not advocating that it did happen, right? But like, just what if? What if they were like, let's hold her back a little bit so they could play with the specialization. You know, like, no, I'm not saying that they would do that. I'm just saying that that'd be an interesting like topic, right? That would be an interesting discussion. I don't think they would, because theoretically it could be very easily proven. But like, because I kind of feel for LSS in a certain sense. For there's no way that they could predict that Oldham would LL right now, right? Because he literally got like half his LL points in what, 3 weeks, right? Like he got it in no time, and I just don't think there's any way they could have foreseen that, and right? And I'm assuming they made an Oldham specialization. That is speculation, but I'm just assuming that they have Alexi and Oldham specialization. Well, that person did not want to play. Oh, they changed their mind. See if they want to stick it out. How did everybody in chat do at the RTNs? Okay, they dipped again. What's happening? Do they just really want to win the die roll? Is that what it is? How did everybody in chat do at RTN season for the last one? I played in one. It was basically the situation was either top four that one and then drive to Georgia and play another one, or top four that one and go home. And I luckily did. Um, okay, this is definitely not a pummel. Okay, all right. I feel like this is Justin or Damien or something. I could be wrong. We'll see. 1-7 across 2 RTNs. I feel peachy. Yeah, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Marvin, you were playing Azalea, right? How were your matchups? Were your um, lost to Mr. Fang in the top 8? Unfortunate. Unfortunate. Okay. I kind of like having this card. It is a New Horizon build, so that's kind of valuable. I'm just trying to figure out why he's attacking up front like this. Establish the board state. He had started with, he drew a card, so it's 5 cards total. So he's running 69, and he's attacking out front on turn 0. Very possible that this is fatigue. If he wants to play it that way. So we do have to be mindful of that. I'm going to play around razors here. Just send this, and I'll probably take this because I do want to secure the attack. So we did waste. Should have. It's close call. I wasn't expecting the yellow's captain's call, but if they're running yellow captain's call, I'm probably not too worried about it anyway. Let's see. We got 2 Lexis, 2 Oldhim, 2 Vis, 1 Briar, 1 Reinar. Okay. So the Oldhims are bad matchups. Vis is very shaky, right? And the Lexis, if I'm not mistaken, are kind of favorable, but not by like a whole lot. We're just gonna send as much damage as we can. If he has Buzzsaw, he just has the Buzzsaw. And you beat the Reinar. I would think the Reinar would be the hard one. And because this is situational here, we're gonna go ahead and do the Rosetta Thorn, so that way we guarantee get a value of 4 instead of maybe 4. So we got 13 value from the hand. Not too shabby. I would have liked to Arsenal the card, but I just couldn't give up the fact that it's worth 4 here. It's a pretty good, pretty okay start. This is fine too. Here we have a choice to make. This does have go again, which would kind of talk me into this being a He had to go again. So this is 0 cost arrow, no resources floating, or 0 cost attack. So we're just gonna block with this and kind of keep a card to stop an on-hit effect, depending on what this could be. And then we can also dump into the Sonata. Either one is okay. So unfortunately, in this situation, we are forced to just hard dump into Sonata because if we block, we only get a block effectively of 1. So normally I do not like to dump into Sonata. But in this situation, we're only getting 1 block from the Earthward Surge, so we're kind of forced into it. They kind of quote-unquote priced us in. Now, I know this is very tempting to dump all 6, but in here I'm only going to dump 4. I want the 2 floating, so that way I can make a rune chant if I hit a swarming or... Holy cow, chat. We just revealed 5 attacks. Holy shit. That's what happened to me at Pro Tour. I revealed 6. 6. Came in hot for 2. Look at that. Look at that. 3 card 2. That is not tempo. That is not tempo. This is pretty good though. This got better. Insane, bro. Insane. Interesting here, though. We got a couple options. I don't care about the 5 natty. I want to see what comes, and we have this here too. We have a Virulent here. I don't want this card. I think now's a good time to use Crown, because if we can get another Bramble or Nimblism, this becomes way better. Because there's no hand that I really want to set up with the Pulse. We don't have. Yeah, we just did a mega whiff on the old Sonata. So I'm in favor of dumping the Pulse here and seeing what we get. Yep, so this is fine. See, now we just saved ourselves from snaps effectively. And this is fine too. We can still give up the card that we just got and grasp if we want to. We don't have to. Let's look at the EV, right? So if I play this is worth 4, but the way you should calculate Remorseless, let me tell him thinking while I explain this. So the way you should calculate Remorseless is you just -1 on every card you play. So this is only effectively a value of 3. This is a value of 3. And then you wouldn't get the +1 here because you're dealing 1, but you're taking 1, right? And it's saving snaps. And then you have this. I think we actually do take it, though. Got 4, 4, that's 8, possibly 10, could snap versus block 3 here. So it's 3. Ooh, it's close. Do I want to speed this up or slow it down? How many traps have we seen? Force of Nature on an Exude Confidence. Very good chance it does hit because he draws traps. Armor, he has 3. We at least sees tempo. I think we have to pull the trigger here. Usually don't like to make this play, but because it's an Exude, there's a very good chance that this can actually land because he theoretically knows that he needs to block. He needs to block at least 10 here to stop me from drawing. And then we always have the Tunic counter into Rosetta play, depending on the situation. So I don't hate it. I need to take the more aggressive line because I'm behind because of the Sonata play. So I'm just recognizing that I'm in a tough spot and that my only way back into this game is if he has a heavy trap hand and I deny him from playing the set traps. Took Bravo to top 4 in my third RTN. Awesome, man. Congrats. Bravo's looking pretty decent with that new card, I'll tell you that much. Bravo's looking pretty decent. Deadeye forced a reckless swing play. Discarded a Blood Rush. when they blocked out. That's pretty good. He was asking if I double Force of Nature. Sorry, I didn't see it. Till now. So I guess he's gonna let me have the draw. So I guess the question is, do we pump it or not? The answer is yes, because it's like just free value. Because we can always Tunic counter Rosetta, and we don't really want to play our attack out if we draw it, because we're under Remorseless, right? So we're just gonna arsenal this bad boy and swing the old Tunic counter. We're just gonna hope he has a bunch of D-reacts. Hope and dream while we brick another hand. Let's go. So once again, tempo discussion. I'm at 14 life, and he's about to present 10 damage, at least. Is there any situation where I get out of playing Channel My Heroic here? No, there is not. So what do I have to do? Got to put my blocking pants on. That is a fact. We just give it up. We don't even think about it. Okay, we're just going to give up the whole hand. Reset. He's off an arsenal. Hopefully he can draw some traps. Just throw a vanilla attack out. It's our only... We kind of need him to brick here. Is kind of our out. This is not a brick. No, this is not a brick. Stone Cold nuts. Holy shit. Seek and destroy with infecting shot. Value of 13 plus. I can only block 6, 8, 10, 11. I can give it all and then go Nimblism into Ravel. I have to. I don't have a choice. Yep, can't play around that one. So, we're obviously going to take 2, go down to 10. We are in an okay spot here. We still have a tiny bit of armor left, and we still have snaps with an Exude on top. So I'm perfectly fine just doing like a 0 for 4, 0 for 4. Next turn, whatever the case may be, and kind of managing the game from there. I just don't want to have increased exposure to certain traps. So here, I'm more than happy to block 12 here. But if he has a lackluster hand, just give up Heroic here, and to here Snap and Rosetta is also a very good play depending on what he plays out. Yep, like I said, we're blocking 12. Yep. And we're just trying to manage the game here. We're throwing a 0 for 4 here, which is great. No traps. And it's also a break point, which he can no longer cover up because he doesn't have traps. So amazing card in this situation. Just looking for one opening to close the game out. So this is a good one. We can go something into something, snap, go from there. Okay. Okay, now this is interesting because I'm just trying to think what. This is double blood rot. Do I give it all? And then Hopi Bricks, is that the play? Because this is effectively 12. So I'm basically getting 12 block out of my, even though it doesn't look like it blocks 12, it technically does. The question is, if he has another Rain Razors, we get blown out. I know we're blocking this. And I'm 90% sure we're blocking this. The question is, do we take 3 and then 4? That drops us down to... That means we take 7. I think we have to do it this way. We have to just hope. We're going to give 1 back, but I really need him to not have Collapsing Trap here, is what we need. This does not mean we're out of the woods for Collapsing Trap yet, because he would play it after the Snapdragon resolves. Pitfall is going to deal 3. So that's exactly lethal. Unfortunate. Yes, I would like to not die. Unfortunate. I think we lost this one on the the 5-card Sonata whiff. And then we just lose from here no matter what. There's nothing else that we can really do to get back in the game. We just die to a trap, and easy as that. I mean, I'm not going to give up, but like the only way that we basically can stay in the game is by not triggering a trap. Is the only way. So our only out is if our opponent just makes a mistake. Oh, 5-card Sonata. Sheesh. Brutal. This is kind of why I was hoping a little bit that she would LL. Get the hell away from this. Too much variance. Too much. I mean, I love the deck to death, but it's got a lot of variance. That's it. Sonata was big whiff, big whiff, big whiff. But that's okay. We take those. We take those in stride. The way that I kind of look at Sonata is if you reveal like 4 cards of the exact same type. Did you really want the hand anyway? Like, obviously it sucks because it's like negative EV because you just played a card that literally just gave you half a go again, value wise. But did you really want the hand you were going to draw anyway? It's kind of the way that I like to look at it. Just depends. Here's a matchup that I like a lot more because you got a lot more say in it, kind of. Really enjoy this matchup. Okay, so straight off the rip, he's running AB2, Tectonic Plating, Snow Under, and 69 cards. Okay, so that tells me straight from the rip, we do have to worry about fatigue here, which means I'm actually okay just blocking 1 card here and keeping this so. Taking a little bit of damage turn 0 because he is here for a... It's very rare that 4 attacks can be used, right? Because you need to acquire Go again. So it is very rare. We're going to pay 2 into Sonata. And he is going to more than likely... AB here. Yep. And that's going to give us the okay for our Scar for Scar. Good game, Cody. Good game. Good game. We got the Scar. He's got a D-React here. Yep. Good thing he has D-React, though, because... Here, because our hand kind of doesn't do anything, and we have the anti-fatigue measure anyway, I'll go and throw the give and take here. It's very likely to just take 2. I used Josh's list in my RTN last week. It is solid. I went undefeated into the semifinals and lost. Love that yellow overpower. It really is. This list is running 2 host, one in the sideboard. Basically, my thought process was I am running 2 in the main board in all matchups as a way to save sideboard space. It's obviously not like phenomenal in it, but it still fits the role of a 0 for 4. It's basically like using a textless coax, basically, is kind of the thought process. He is keeping 2 cards here, so very likely that not entirely sure what just happened. Not sure what that was. Okay, on to the next. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah, so 2 hosts in the main board, 1 on the sideboard. 2 of them are to consolidate sideboard slots because it does act as a 0 for 4, which is what the deck's trying to do. It kind of... you probably win anyway. I mean, I've played that matchup a lot. I've played that matchup a lot. Just saved 30 minutes. Viserai, there's such an argument to go first or second. The default here is I played against Zach Bunn for the winning in at the Calling Baltimore. He won the die roll. He decided to go first, so I'm gonna go with him and say I want to go first because he wanted to go first for a reason. We're gonna. Nah, I was thinking about putting in the sigils and getting sneaky with it, but nah, we'll just go. Okay, thank God we went first because this hand would be hot dog water otherwise. So what we're gonna do is because we're banking the Bramble Spark, and no cash in. That means the game will be much more predictable. We'll be able to manage the game. This is okay. We'll go ahead and grasp, but we're actually going to get rid of the guaranteed go again because it's very likely that we'll draw another non-attack to go along with the bramble to give the snatch go again, and it'll present that on hit effect. So then we will go ahead and pass. And then this is kind of micro, but we want to arsenal the snatch. That way, if we do draw a Tome of Harvest, we can still fuse the Bramble Spark and be able to actually play the Tome out without getting rid of it. Obviously, that didn't matter, but just kind of micro decision there. Consuming Volition, that's fine. We'll just block happily for 4. In fact, I'll just block 6. No Earth card for this, so I think we just block and send 7 back. What did he pitch? A Vexing. So he had a bunch of attacks. Okay, that's information. So one thing I like to do against hey, what the hell? This guy has your sword. Yeah, no kidding. Not for long. One thing I like to do against traditional Vis without the cash in is one out, quote unquote, that I like to keep in the back of my mind is if. See, why couldn't I do that? If you notice that they hit a heavy part of non-attacks or attack actions in one like lump sum, I'm very aware. Okay, so pitching a red, that means he really needs this to hit. And it kind of, this hand kind of blows. So let's go here and here, get rid of vecting. It didn't get a whole lot better. Honestly, this is very likely to just go. We just drew like 5 attacks in a row. We gotta hang on to an attack in each rotation. But like I was saying, if they hit a heavy portion of attacks or non-attacks in clumps, I am incentivized to kind of prolong the game to increase the odds of them breaking. Is the way that I do like to approach this match. But that strategy only works if they're on more traditional Vis and not not cash in. Cash in is just too fast. They'll kill you out of nowhere if you try to fuck around and find out. So unfortunately, I have to block that because this is the math, right? I could go 5, go again into 4. That's a value of 9, or I could block 2 and send 7, which is also a value of 9. I'm just trying to extend the game. That's why I'm doing that. Just trying to extend the game to get to Channel Mount Heroic. Because he seems like he's on a more forced to interact build, which I love. My deck is built to interact with everybody. I'm all about them 4 blocks, right? So I think I can just win the value trades if I extend this game. But I would love to be proven wrong. All right, this is the Mordred. Let's see it. I knew it. I knew it. Okay. Definitely blocking this. Yep. One card in Arsenal, just hope it's not Revel. It could be, though. It actually could be. So many goddamn triggers. Unfortunately, I have to overblock by 1 again. Just because my blocks are not lining up great. Yep. Called it the whole way. But that's okay. We're going to take the 11, go down to 21, and then take the 2 down to 19, and return to almost even it out. We are behind in this game. We haven't had any explosive hands. And he got the old Mordred Rebel. Please click fast on these. I'm not about to... Come on, just hit pass. Okay. So definitely behind here. We got some catching up to do, but that's okay. We're going to do our best to climb out of the hole we're in. Okay, so he's going to disrespect it very quickly. He obviously has a very good hand. We're going to try and punish as much as we can. Although we don't really draw a whole lot here. Like I said, one, I don't hate Tome of Harvest here, though. So there's a valid argument because he's not taking damage. I mean, you get one more value if you just... Yeah, so let's... I was going to say we could take Tunic Counter and keep it, but this is a perfect arsenal, so we'd go against that. If this was any other card just about, we'd probably Tunic Counter swing instead of Pitch Make a Rune Chant swing. But this is just goated. So, just... We're in a very bad spot when he snap no block the snatch. Really bad spot. We're getting to the point to where channel is not even going to be a factor in the game. If we were to even draw it. Okay, this is good because he's making an investment at 15 life, and we can punish that. So that is a possible out. I really want to block 6 here. I want him to present something that I'm incentivized to block 6 on. Because what I really want to do is just nimble here, Tunic Counter swing. Okay. So he played Incantation and then Swarming. How is this 4? He's only made 1 rune chant. Or this is an aura. That's fine. That's why it's 4. Okay, that means we need to block this card. Because we do have a valid target for so we're fine there if we do need to arsenal it. Because we're just trying to get in arcane damage while we can. Sure. I would love to block with this card. And extract value from it. Okay, because we went through that hard clump of attacks, I'm actually going to favor, depending on how he reacts to this lightning surge, I might arsenal the Rabble. If he gives me a card or 2, the Rabble's going to go into arsenal. If he just eats 7, there's an argument to play it. Just depends on his reaction here. Okay, he is giving me a card. That's a good sign, and it's a drawn. Um, it's actually a very good sign. Just the old 2-card 11 with the tunic counter. Okay, so I decided to keep the drawn. So if we're pushing 11 here, I want him to feel the pressure. So we really need to head a red on this Ravel. Because I got a feeling I'm going to have to block with my armor next turn anyway. So we're going to go ahead and jam here. And then he's got to start worrying about like just arcane damage at some point, right? Very tough choice here for him because going to 2 is kind of risky because he just dies to any Well, this is interesting. Because I can kill him with this hand, right? I can Nimblism, E-Strike, go again for 8, and then make a Rune Chant, swing Rosetta. So if this hand does not produce 17 more damage, we just... How do we not just win here? What's the worst card that could be? Revel. So that would be... Revel would be 5. This is 7, 2, 5, 7, 9, 2 and 2 is 13. I have 2 block. But this doesn't even have go again, so we can't even creepers in Revel. I think we just win? I'm not sure what's happening here. I don't know if this is a trap or not. Okay. Well, the previously mentioned line, E-Strike into here with the go again. And then we pitch make a Rune Chant, total of 3 arcane. It should close the game out unless he has something super fancy. Sure, just die now. Well, that works. Yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen a blue Spellbridge strike. I love the red one. In fact, if the meta ever gets very like Ice Lexi heavy, the Spellblade Strike is a very good contender because it's 1 cost. You can do your Rosetta rotation with Mauve and still a break point, and you can pay for the Frostbite. You don't want to do it with the whole suite, but it's definitely like a sideboarding decision you can make if that ever becomes very prevalent. Okay, so we're running Crown of Seeds here. Oh, that's a hand. We do have Arcane Lantern. Yeah, we'll block. Why not? I kind of want to take a little damage to turn the Scar on to get a guaranteed, like, decent first turn. I don't want him to start with silver. What's the EV on that? Start at 2 less life. There's a good shot he has a shred or something here, though, so I can, like, let's just do this. He pitched a blue shred, yeah, so he has to have it, yeah. So we mitigate as much damage as we can, but we still get the payoff on the other end if we were wrong. And he just got a shitty sync blow while we had tempo. So let's go. Wait, we need to not do it that way. Stupid Talishar. If the arcane damage ties the life, it'll turn the Scar off, even though you get to pick the layers how you want to. Talishar will turn off the go again. That's why I can't make the rune chant first, unfortunately. It's not like I'm preserving any information. I mean, I've used the Tome of Harvest. He knows it's there. Has a... Okay, so we have the protection on the turn that we do not have Crown of Seeds up, which is fantastic. So we'll go and arsenal that. Holy shit. Okay, so we are withering here. So in this spot, we have a huge payoff hand. So what I'm going to do is just block here. And then if he has Zuri's, I'll do the swap here. The question is, do we sync the give and take? I don't think there's any valid reason to. Because we're just going to E-Strike, draw a card, and then no matter what we draw off the top, we're going to Arsenal it and Tunic Counter, Crown of Seeds it away next turn anyway. Actually, we won't have Tunic Counter yet. So there's actually, depending on how much of this he takes, there's actually an argument to just jam this. No. I mean, he's definitely got double D react here. Just one 3-card hand. We have Crown to bail us out, though. Okay. We don't give a fuck about this card right now. Not in the least bit. Just don't have a stealth card in Arsenal. CNC from Arsenal. Death Touch from Arsenal. Do we care? If he gives us Blood Rot, we can actually leverage the Blood Rot and keep Chona around for longer. Don't worry. The tempo talk will be at will be in the VOD, so you can catch it when it releases. I think like 12 hours after the stream, you'll be able to catch it. But I hope you enjoy it. So here, we don't really care about Frailty. He doesn't know this is a Rabble. Inertia, we're playing all these cards out because they're so beautiful. And Blood Rot, we can just double pitch for the Earth, keep the Channel Heroic around anyway. Just so many good things, right? Like, there's no way we block this. No shot. We take these. See, we can just pay into that and keep the channel around. Because that is how that works. If Talishar does it correctly, anyway. So, what we want to do is we want to set up our grave in a way to where we can go attack, attack, attack. So what we want to do is we don't really want to Rosetta. So what we're going to do is we're going to pitch. What am I talking about? We're actually probably just going to play the Autumn's Touch. Let's see what he does here. We'll go from there. Because we have as long as this hits, then we can, swarming, go again, tunic, counter, give and take, play the Autumn's Touch for 8. That's a line. Or we can make the rune chant, do all that funny business with the blood drop pox to keep it around. It all depends on whether he takes this and whether we want the give and take. So I guess it ultimately depends on what he does with the give and take. So if he gives us the give and take and lets us put cards on top, then we will basically do it that way. If not, we'll just play the Autumn's Touch, more than likely. Do you think there's something to be found in a more elemental focused Briar build, or does it just not compare to her current game plan? I do have a deck list built in that way. But I don't think that it's currently the best way to do it, unfortunately. Yeah, so we just go 6. And then because he didn't let us set up and we went through a lot of attacks, I really don't want to brick. Because I think there might just be a Scar on top, and that'd be it for attacks. And he's really taking this damage, so I'm just trying to push as much as I possibly can. Is all I'm trying to do. Because he wanted to keep that hand for something. Okay. Well, this hand's good. Maybe playing the other way would have been better. Maybe I should have kept Channel around. But we did get him down to... Oh, he double sigiled. Okay. We did get him down, though. Yikes. Yikes. Well, let's go back to just setting up. We'll just do go again and finish with the Scar. And then Arsenal, the really good card, and then go from there. My thought process was I didn't want to invest in a second channel turn and not get the value because he was holding on to cards and it could have been like a shakedown or something like that. It just ended up being cards that didn't block. Is your Nats deck locked in? No. Hopefully I'm not playing Briar, but we'll see. We'll see. If history repeats itself, I'll test 3 different decks for a solid month, and then one reason will come out to play Briar, and I'll hop straight onto it. That's what'll happen. Okay, so we do have the backstab. We have Crown of Seeds as a bailout, but we don't really have anything good here. And he does have Whispers, but he does have an extra card, which is kind of worrisome. So unfortunately, we just have to mitigate as much as we can until we get Crown of Seeds back up. So we're gonna block 6 here. If he does either take a card from hand or the arsenal, we can just 0 for an arsenal and replace. So we always have an out no matter what the card is. Nathan not playing Briar before she LLs? Never. I know, right? So this means that they do have the reaction more than likely. Yep. Or they're just trying to get it out of their hand. That's cool too. So we'll just do the wham bam thank you ma'am. Go ahead and get that at 2 for 8 out the door. I'm hoping Dust Till Dawn brings in some tools to make Viserai good. I mean, Viserai's good. Like, he's not bad. I think he's going to be way worse into the if they don't hit Lexi. I think she can add enough ice cards to really swing that matchup, and I think it can get a lot worse for him. But if they hit Lexi, then Viserai gets a great opportunity, a great window. Okay. So this is a great card to have here. So is this. We're not blocking that because we can still block 6. Don't care. Yep. Oh, you don't have any float, good sir. I'm going to get your tunic counter. Oh, wait. No. No. Sorry. Fuck. Well. I forgot that I didn't have an embodiment. I calculated that wrong. Yep, I screwed up this one. I thought I had an embodiment, and I thought I was going to be able to block for 6 no matter what. But math is math. But luckily, we have the we have the counter to the mistake. It's what we have, and we're gonna give these right back to him. Mr. Crawford in the chat knows all about the infectious host with the most. And unfortunately, that means that we have to give up the equipment. It's just too good of an arsenal, and we don't want to. I may be valuing Lightning Surge too high here, but like we're giving him those back, and he's at 9, so I also didn't want to give him more silver to get his whispers back. I didn't want to open that 3 of a kind. It's the only banning that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like if they hit her, then like cool. If not, it doesn't really bother me any. I'm not pushing for anything. I understand the arguments from both sides. I'm just I'm fairly confident that if she doesn't get hit, then a Fuseless Lexi with a heavy ice package in the sideboard is going to just ream the meta. Okay. A lot of cards here. Could want to pay for Blood Rot. I think we have to just block this in hope. Because if he does pass here, we have the oh so efficient play. Yep. So we clogged him. We clogged him up on that one. That's good. You guys should do a funny chart video on percentages of Oldhim players leaving to other heroes. How about leaving the game? No, I'm just kidding. As I'm going to, I did. So I am the. So I did a last second pivot on what I was going to do the topic on today's stream. I was going to do a video on what to do when you're main LLs because I've been fortunate enough to go through that, what will be a 3rd time with Briar, right? Viserai was my first main. He technically didn't LL, but he got the Scalata ban, which is basically the same thing at the time. So I had to pivot off of that into Chain. and then Chain LL'd, and then I went into Briar, and then Briar, of course, I thought was going to LL. She did not, so therefore I did an emergency change on the stream topic, and went from there. Well, this is an interesting hand. And I don't know what to do because this is never hitting. So what value am I actually getting from it? If I don't have an embodiment. Let's get a count. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so Arsenal Disruption still has a lot of it. He's at 4. No armor. I really like the idea of blocking here and here. We just don't need channel to close the game. We don't need that exposure. And then I'll just pitch Embolism, swing Rosetta, and then Arsenal Sink Blow as bait. And then just look for the cheapest way to swing Rosetta Thorn with the 2 and 2. I'd rather the rest of the field catch up rather than her come down. I mean, I don't hate it, but in a non-rotating format, is that not much more difficult to bring everybody up, right? It's much easier to remove a card or two than it is to print 40. Just depends, though. Blocking with a Death Touch. Arsenal. Yes, a way to swing Rosetta. Thank you. Swing your dagger and then let me block 7. Or let's cut to the chase. Okay. Sure, Chief. Got him. We call that one fucking around finding out. Or let people actually solve the meta and stop knee jerking. Yeah, I mean it just depends on what the devs have done and what you know, the devs I would hope have a good idea of what is to come with Oldhim leaving in the new set coming out. It just depends. Maybe there was something in the back that they kind of wanted, you know, had on the radar, and was waiting for the big events to clear before they really hit something. I mean, we just don't know. We just don't know. So we got that one pretty convincingly. Crown of Seeds in that matchup is just it makes or break, right? Because like you get so much power from the Arsenal playing Briar, and my thought process on adding Crown of Seeds for this matchup specifically was, one, the meta share was increasing. 2, I found myself playing very scared and playing to not lose instead of playing to win, which was like messing a lot of my games up. So I was like, what if there's a way to, you know, make it where I can do my normal game plan but have an out always? And Crown of Seeds is that answer. You know, you just wait for the tunic counter. I operate mainly on a 3-turn rotation. So the first 2 turns I will not Arsenal typically unless it's a D-react. And then on the 3rd turn, when I get the tunic counter, I will start to Arsenal. And I'll just crown away whenever they have the Arsenal disruption. And I'll go back to not Arsenaling. So I'll just play it based off of the tunic counter. Justin, did I beat Riptide earlier? I did not. I sonated for 5 cards and missed them all. Missed them all. But I am looking forward to the downtime. Um, after the Singapore calling, we kind of don't have a lot until Nat season, um, or until the new set comes out anyway. All right, so we got good old Jeff here coming in hot with Fi. We will go ahead and click that good old Fi button. Luckily, I know exactly what he's doing here because they were talking about it. But I'm not going to change anything in the sideboard or whatever. I'm just going to run it how my Fi button is set, whatever that is. On a real note, with Oldham and Briar leaving soon, where does that put Riptide in your perspective on the meta chart? I think Riptide gets a lot better. Riptide's always been good into the Rangers, right? Because he has the D reacts to kind of shut down certain play patterns, get free value, stuff like that. The one thing that I'm not a fan of is okay, this is interesting. What if we blocked with channel and put it right back on top? The one thing I will say though, for specifically for Riptide, is he needs something to push Dromai out. Okay, with Winds of Eternity, I think I want to overblock this because I really need an attack. So I'm going to block 6 here to try and fix the hand and hang on to the power card. There is an argument to block with the Channel Mount Heroic and then pulse it on top, but I want the option to just play it out if I get the rip. I do want that ability. And we got neither. So unfortunately, this hand only does one thing, and it sends CNC and Arsenal's the good card. So 2 back-to-back kind of like very subpar hands, but we'll see what we can do. I agree, but disagree when it comes to Redline Droma. Actually, decent. Yeah, Redline's fine, but for now, Big Dragon is what people are playing mostly right now. I'm tired of Rangers folding like a lawn chair to Illusionist. Yeah, I mean it I mean I don't think Lexi kind of folds. I think it's actually very close. Unbanned Dustblade. That would be the dream. Let me get that card. Hell yeah, what we get? We got a Sink Below. Okay, so what that means is right off the bat, he is showing a Pounding Gale, and he's also showing he's running 72 cards. So he's obviously on a Kodachi 1 for 5 plan, which is fine. It just so happens that I know how to beat that plan. So what this means, what it translates to, is he has a Flick Flack in hand, right? That's the only reason he would give up the Sink Below there. So he has a Kodachi, and then a 1 for 5 here, and then another D-React that he's going to place in Arsenal. Which means that the value of the draw is actually not that much. The problem is I know he wants to block, so I don't want to play the Force of Nature. I don't want to kind of fold into that. I don't want to tome here. I don't want to get rid of this card that we worked so hard to keep. So unfortunately, I like just we do get go again, but then again, this needs to go in Arsenal. We need to pitch this. So we block here and here. Stop the draw, even though I don't think the draw necessarily matters. But we do want the Arsenal. I'm 90% sure that's another D-React, like 95. So what we need to do is we need to play this out, pitching this, and then we're going to be on the tunic counter. We do not have a target, so we'll go ahead and crown it away. More than likely, is what's going to happen for the so. But next turn we could also just block with one, and then play it accordingly. D-React from Arsenal. Yeah. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and play it. You first. See, read him like a book. Read him like a book. And guess what? He's going to do the exact same thing. 1-1 D-React and Arsenal. Okay. But we're going to try to set up something big for him. Boy. Boy. I tell you. Oh, man. They're... Bingo. Give go again, non-attack, or draw a card. It doesn't have go again, so it doesn't matter. I'll show him a non-attack. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna crown, try to have an explosive turn, get rid of this non-attack. In Arsenal, see what we can do. Boy, this dude done died. Showing you a blue Earthlore Surge. I think we do have Sonata in the list, so I'm not afraid of pitching the Earth card. Just trying to think here because do we play the Channel Mile Heroic or do we play the Red Earthwar Surge? That's the ultimate question. And since we have the double snatch, I want to say it's actually the Channel Mile Heroic. Very close though. Because if we do draw another Earth card, we actually keep both. And I don't hate that. So I think we're going to overpitch. Play the snatch for 10. He probably has a flick flack ready for this. Very close here, though. We are kind of susceptible to a bad draw, but I've just seen a lot of these blues we don't want. So I think no matter what we get here, we're probably fine. Tell you what, you know what's better than a snatch for 10? Another snatch for 10. We're just trying to damage stack here. If we play the long, consistent game, he outvalues us. So we kind of have to. We have to play this one. All right, you can play your Flick Flack. Play that Flick Flack. Yeah, look at that. I've called this guy the whole way. The whole way. All right, so you get one card block for 5. But then you got to get 5 out of somewhere else, which means we at least get no Kodachis thrown at us, which is great. Or that. Okay, so we get him off an arsenal. That's fun. Okay. Okay. We do have options here on whether we want to Tunic counter CNC or just Exude. Because I know he's running a lot of D-Racks, I kind of just want to Exude and save the CNC. We haven't seen any Brambles. We haven't seen any Come to Fight. Like, the card could be very good next turn. Okay. And then we just Arsenal. Oh, that's a big rip. That's a big rip. Fortunately, we didn't have Go Again in that hand, so this is kind of the only avenue that we can go, and hopefully he has some D-Racks that he can't use. And then that'll force a D-Rack into Arsenal, which will make this card valid as the best play that I could kind of make happen here. Giving 2 blues here means he definitely either drew a shit hand. Okay, so we drew the Come to Fight, but we didn't get the blue to go with it. That's fantastic. Okay. So we know this is a D-React. So let's start here. Blue Autumn's Touch one time. Okay, we got a couple options. I kind of like doing the Tunic counter, Come to Fight, into E-Strike. Flick flack. Sure. So since they're playing very slow, I just need to swing Rosetta as many times as I possibly can. What about CNC for 9 Arsenal Surge? Don't remember where that applied. Okay, we're definitely tome here. See what happens. Okay. We hit these. Boy, do we. Hey, random question, but does the MIU, is it the matchup? Is that what you mean? Matchup option work for you where you just click the button? Uh, if that's what you're referring to, it does work for me. Well, so I've been pitching a lot of my lightning surges down to the bottom, and so he's gonna flip flack here or unmovable. Yep, sure. We're just trying to do split damage as much as we can, and make it where when we get around to those lightning surges in that last channel, and then we can also sow Tamara back the channel. We got plays. We got plays. We got more than half the deck, and he after this should be at about half life, give or take. Sure. We do want this card turned on. We have no embodiment. He's gonna pick that buff. You played Sonata, your pitch stack doesn't matter. No, what I meant by pitching it was I'm keeping those exact threats in the deck. I'm not saying that the pitch order is a factor. I'm just mentioning that I'm not playing the cards out on purpose to cycle them. Allowing for certain plays. So here, depending on what comes at the end, we have a lot of options. But for this hand specifically, I really, I mean, it doesn't have go again, right? So we might have to. Unfortunately, we can't take this to drop below. Super unfortunate. I think here we just have to risk it. I think we'll go ahead and give him the rest. Oh, we don't have an embodiment. No, we're not. Okay, we're going all in then. We're going to take it. Look at that card, bro. And all we need him to do is not draw a red or a D-react. That's it. He arsenaled it, so he did. Just give me an attack. Okay. You got a flick flack boss. Let's see how you like this. CNC for 11? Yeah. How's that D-react looking? How's that D-react looking? How many exudes we got left? One. Okay, so we need to do one good last push on the last exude. Okay, so that the way he's blocking tells me that this is a D-react. So we basically just Rosetta Thorn here instead of playing the Swarming. We're just trying to do split damage, get his life down, make sure he doesn't fatigue us. It is an out that he has that I don't want him to be available to. And he's giving Mask of Momentum here, so if it is Kadachi, then 1 for 5 from Arsenal, then I just don't give a shit because he's no longer drawing. So I'll just rate I'll raise damage from that point on. Sure. So it's got 1 block left. Yeah. That's good. That's a good one. We obviously have no reason to block this. Straightforward play here. We just play the Surging, pitching this, and then we go ahead and make a Rune Chant, giving it go again. With this whole reason, we arsenal this over the Scar. And then we swing Rosetta, just breakpoint, 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 wait for channel to do the heavy lifting, and execute. And he has a lot of flick flacks left in the deck. He's only played, what, 1 yellow, 1 red, 1 blue. So he's played 1 of each color, and he's obviously on 9 probably. So playing where we only front load 1 attack and then Rosetta ruins flick flack. I mean, it just defeats the whole purpose of playing it. So we're just going to keep that in mind and, yeah, just try to minimize the value extracted from that card. So he has a D-react here, probably a flick flack, yep. But it means he has another one too. So we're just gonna Rosetta. There's nothing to do about it. He probably doesn't give me a card here. He probably just takes the 2 and then Kadachi 1 for 5, Arsenal the other flick flack. Um, but we're just waiting for that turn. That last channel. The last one. Oh, he's starting to pitch for Arcane. That's a good sign. So he's basically just trying to use the route of fatigue now because he basically tried to he gave up seven damage to block 3 damage, which means he's all in on the fatigue, which is okay. So what we're gonna do is we are going to play the rabble, see if there's a red on top. Okay, so then we're gonna go ahead and play the other rabble. We kind of don't want to shuffle the deck though, but I don't think we have a choice. Because Bramble is just a little too good. Okay, so he is blocking with the blue flick flack here, which means I'm going to try and deny the value. So we're going to go Sonata for 0, which unfortunately does... I really want to play the Snatch out now, though, because I have this. I just want to set up for just a really strong turn. But I know it's... I know this looks so bad, but he's trying to fatigue because he gave up 7 damage to stop. And so I just have to diminish the value in the flick flag. And see, he's still going to give me card here. And I'm just setting up for just big hands. Okay, so I can play this, get a big hand, and push. We just don't care about damage at this point. That is a good hit, though. That is a great hit. Which means we actually want to try and get... So this is a unique situation. I think here we actually have to play the Earthward Surge to force his whole hand so he can't actually play the E-Strike. So I'm going to play the Earthward Surge here, pitching the channel. And then I'm going to play the Snatch for, I think it's 12. And then what we're also going to do, so what this does is it says, if you want to play that E-Strike, you're going to have to pay with life if you want to play it. And then if not, I just banished a card out of his deck anyway when we get down to the low trades. And then depending on how this draws, if it draws, he probably has 2 reacts here. If I had to get, yeah. So, and what we can do is we'll stack pitch the Rabble with the Channel Heroic. And so we'll just try to pitch stack some attacks because we've shuffled the deck all that we plan on. and go from there. Okay, so we will go ahead and force fuse, and we will go and throw the rabble. Just being mindful of what we're. Unfortunately, we have to pitch this rounds, which is not exactly what we want next to the rap, but we need to play this card, it, and we can always like just as a last second thing, we can always play this rounds. Once again, just trying to make as many breakpoints as I possibly can. Forcing the fatigue strat, which plays into what I'm trying to do, set up and push. And we put in non-attack that draws, which extends the turn. And this is phenomenal. We're going to go ahead and see what we rip off this. I don't think we actually need channel. I think we need red earth ores because we already have one and we're so low in cards. So I'm actually going to put the red earth ore on bottom. We have the option to play the earth ore out. It's actually a tough decision on whether we do or not. I think we do, though. But there's an argument because we're giving up the arsenal and we still have some tomes in. We still have one tome. So having it in arsenal for go again for a next attack is a valid reason. But he's so low in life. I'm just trying to force him into some awkward situations. But our pitch stack is channel rabble into this rounds, which is not. What's up, Hunter? Long live Briar. That's right. Sure. Go ahead and get that arcane in. He's going to stop 2 of it, take 1, and then probably prevent the 2. But if he takes 2, I'm fine with that too. Just trying to whittle him down. Simple as that. Okay. We do want to start getting some attacks down there. So I am a fan of just doing the. I have a couple options here on what, because we have to be careful if we give him the opportunity to arsenal, then we just don't want. So we could present 5 and then 2 and 2 and then arsenal either one of these is an option. It's kind of wasting a bramble spark, but we got to stop him from getting a D-react in arsenal. And he is going to leak a damage anyway. So it is kind of wasteful, but I think it's what we got to do. So we're going to do this with no fuse and E-strike. Go again. And then Tunic Counter Rosetta Arsenal, the last card. Just trying to get all of his cards is what, because we don't want him to get a direct into Arsenal. That's all we're trying to stop. Then here he has a grand old choice of stopping the 2 or going to 2. He didn't have one anyway. That would have been great to know, but okay, so we're gonna go ahead and rip the tome here. Hopefully get that something. This is good. We can definitely just tome, pitch, or not tome, Earthward Surge into this. And then we'll swing Rosetta once again, which gets all the cards, and we set up a Lightning Surge, and when we draw Channel Mount Heroic, we yeah, we're just chipping him down with Rosetta is all we're doing. But we actually kill him sooner than that because we kill him sooner than that because our attacks are going to have breakpoints on him, and he's running out of D-Rags. So okay. And here we literally just play the channel with no expectations of keeping it around to just kill him. Who needs Rosetta Thorn, right? Even if he double flick flacks into a block 10 on the next, it still doesn't save him here. If he blocks right here, he loses to Rosetta Thorn. This is why we kept the Lightning Surges in the deck in the earlier rotation. So blue flick flack here to be able to block 5 on the next. That's fine. And we hit the red. We're so good at this game. And we had another 7 after that. So we didn't even need to keep the Channel Mount Heroic out. So one note, that game is very very important. So if at any moment in that game if I did not recognize what his strategy was and pivot accordingly, I very easily lose that game, right? Let's imagine a situation where I didn't pressure where he could have gotten the E-Strike. He could have evened out life totals very easily and we could have gotten into that Kodachi, kind of situation where he could have started getting cards. Just understanding the game state and what your opponent's trying to do. I cannot stress how important it is to know how many cards somebody is starting with. If you look at the game, he started with I want to say it was like 72 cards, and I almost evened it up, right? I still had 2 Sows in deck. It won't show me, but I still had a couple more attacks and like our 2 red Earth Wars, I think. And so yeah, I mean, it was just I lose that game 90% of the time if I don't recognize what he's doing and pivot accordingly. So it's very important to do that. So important. But GG. GG. We had a hand with a red, 2 unmovables, and a blue. Had an unmovable in Arsenal. Well, I drew a whole bunch of attacks with no go again. I mean, it happens, right? You just play cards like that. I mean, it happens. I don't like the unmovable in that deck. I will admit. I'm not a fan. You run enough D-Reacts for I think it's greedy. Levia. So I've been trying something new into Levia specifically, and I ran D reacts at R10, and it was BEA beautiful. Just running all the all the cards that block amazingly well. Put in these, take out those. No, we probably keep those in. So we put in, that means we take out Sonata. And we're up 3. So what 3 would we take out? I don't think we run the Come to Fights. Let's try this, see what happens. It just hurt. Oh, it's fine except for the 1%. Yeah. Bro, this dude ain't waiting for nobody, bro. Banished a whole bunch of non-attacks. With Blood Debt, bro. So I need to take 2 here to turn on the Scar. He's on Art of War, so this is a very aggressive Levia list. So we actually do have to appreciate the life totals, if you will. Wow. At least I hit a red. You mean 1% like these hands? Tell you what. Please, pulping one time. One time, bro, lead with a pulping. One time, so I can just ruin the dreams. Ugh. What do I even do here? I mean, I can't. I have to take this 5. I have to take the next 5. And then play these on whatever follows. Because it's got to come in for 8, right? What are you pumping? That's a big old bitch. Tie up life. Do a 0 for 4. Try it again. He has 2 blood debt. 2 blood debt. So we're just trying to control the game. The damage is very explosive, but if they ever brick, the blood debt can tie up the match very quickly. Okay, he got the action point, but gloves are gone, so we have a 6 with no on hit. No pummel here. So we're obviously going to play the channel, and then so this is our blocking card, but we also have an opportunity to be more aggressive because we can create an embodiment. So I actually don't hate the idea of blocking with that and crowning that way. But he needed 2 action points for a reason, so let's figure out what he needed it for. Okay. So let's just go ahead and push. And worst case scenario, that, basically. That is the worst case scenario. So we have a option to, what we can do is kind of bait here and say, here's a lightning surge for 10, and if he doesn't block, then we just rip this rounds, right? Which decreases the attack value of all of his attacks, right? And we'll go from there. And we could still swing Rosetta Thorn. Here, it's kind of iffy though. We might actually hang on to it because he did give us a card. Yeah, I think we do hang on to it. We would have drawn this. Okay, 6, go again. Very weird hand here. Sure, we need to see what's coming after in case he has CNC or anything like that. Good damage, good damage. I think we have to block 6 here, play that, draw a card, see what happens. We need him to get greedy here, though. His hands have been fantastic. Mine, not so much. So I'm going to try to bait here. I'm going to sink that and say draw a card. And I did not want him to block in case anybody was wondering. And we unfortunately have to gamble here. We have to fuse prior to this rounds. Unfortunately, we have to hit an attack here to be in the game. No other way to put it. Oh, I misplayed. Okay. Well, thought process was I didn't factor in E-Strike, to be honest with you. That's my fault. Okay, this has go again. We gotta keep life up as high as. Yeah, because if we would have had the Bramble in hand, we wouldn't have fused, but we could have just done go again and still had enough to swing Rosetta. So that mistake cost me 8 damage. Yeah, that was on me, 100%. I think I got a little greedy there. We need to stay as far away from Reckless as possible. Oh, it looks like our only out now is them breaking. Dark, look at attack. Yeah, just the one attack we didn't want to see. Literally any other one would have been just fine. Yep, this gets a card. That's fine. That's what we want. We want as much tempo as we can. The reason we led with this is if he does let this go through for some weird reason, then we can E-Strike and make other plays depending on what we draw. We got options. Okay, like I said, here I'm just going to elect to E-Strike for 7 and then Arsenal one of them. There's no reason to continue down for 2 more damage. It's not gonna get another card or anything like this. That was not tempo. You're right. That's a fact. I wish you were here for our tempo discussion earlier. Oh, he's blocking. Can he? Is he doing like a cheeky Art of War to get a card and banished, or did he just dot himself? Which one is it? Oh, he got there. Okay. So he's only got 2 cards. Oh, so this is how we win. Okay, so he only has 2 cards here. So Literally, he can't make this play next turn. Well, this will be in the graveyard, so that'll be exactly 3, which he will hit. But then the next turn, he won't have enough cards. So we just have to live 2 cycles, and we are fine. So we just need to block, keep our life as high as humanly possible. Send a 7 to increase the block. Then he can do, we just need to live this turn where he banishes enough 6, and we just gotta trip him up one good time. This is an interesting one. We want to keep making these trades because we're winning on them because we have breakpoints in our embodiment. So let's keep doing the trades. We're doing small trades, so I like arsenal the Nimblism or the Bramble more than the Earthwar Surge. So I'm going to block with Earthwar here and then Nimble into the send my 7 in Arsenal. So we're trading 7s. The only difference is I have embodiment and he doesn't. And if he bricks one hand, he just dies to blood debt. It's kind of the idea. Or he can just kill me. Okay, so that's a get out of jail free, sure. What if you don't attack and he can put cards in discard? Does he lose? No, we didn't have Rosetta this turn because it didn't have go again. Oh yeah. If we played out both, yes, we would. What is this dude doing? Okay, so just 10. Cool. So he has a bunch of he has some misses. So what we can do is we can block 7, take 3 down to 6. Then I'll put us under. Then I'll make Scar alive. But the way that fucking the way Tower Shard works, it won't let me actually do that. So unfortunately, we do this and then push. And that keeps us just off of it. Keeps us off of single Reckless Swing. He does get us with the double, but that's the chance we gotta take. I would block with the Swarming, but the way Tower Shard works, when I play the Scar here and I'm at 6, the Arcane will take him down to 6 and it'll turn off my go again. Okay, this leaks. This gives us... That comes in for 4, and then another 4. This gets the whole hand. He dies to blood debt. That closes the game. Closer than I wanted it to be. But we just, recognize what we need to do. I love cards that block for 4. They're goated. So what is that, 4-1 today? I haven't been updating the old counter. Let's update that. I think we're 4-1 today. Way better than last time. What do we got? Okay, we got a good old Dory. We go second against Dory every day of the week. Don't want to let them start with the ye old tempo. We do have a good amount of DRX, which is definitely helps in the matchup. That's for sure. There is my Dory button. Let me make sure everything's right. Yep, everything looks fine. Okay. The tempo man himself. Dark Odious does know a thing or two about tempo. That's a fact. Okay, hand is literal hot dog water. So let's go ahead and he pitched a red, so I'm not too worried about any outcome here. So I'm just gonna give him these two. See what he does. See if he does play this, then for him to he's got to give me his arsenal if he doesn't want to take a damage on turn one. So thank you for that. Been a big help. Do that. He has no AB. So we kind of have free reign to do whatever because we have guaranteed go again on the swarming. Swarming is coming in hot. So I think we'll just go ahead and send the swarming because we're not guaranteed to have it the next turn. We'll arsenal the rabble and maybe get a tunic play on it. Have you played against Josh's overpowered Dory list? Yeah, several times. Several. I think it's actually correct to run no AB in this matchup. If you're the Dory player, it just happens to be that I run sigils, so it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Okay, he's gonna take it, and so we will secure the attack so that we prevent ourselves from bricking. But hopefully he's learned his lesson on attacking turn 0 and getting greedy. So we started with 12 damage on the board and get to keep an arsenal. Great value. This is an okay hand. It's not the best. It's not the worst. Not like we're blocking anyway. We have a couple options here. We could jam the armor and make him have it. The problem is this is singing. It's going to cost him 1 to play it. So he has go again. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to block 7 here. Not because it's going to stop him, but solely on the fact that I think this is singing Stillblade. And he's going to go get Ironsong Response, which means he has to then, if he does that rotation, he has to pitch the card in his hand. He comes off of an arsenal. So I'm blocking this way, not to stop him. It's not going to happen in no world that it does. But I'm trying to prevent him from getting an arsenal in the following turn because I'm putting his arsenal on and seeing Stillblade. So let's do that. This card is doing nothing. Let's just sink it, see what happens. Okay, we can block better on the second one if we need to. Up to us. Or we just shut it down. That works too. Holy shit. Okay, so we'll test the waters, see if there's a red. It is a red, and it happens to be a D-react. That means we push as much damage as possible. In fact, it actually means that we draw a card on this E-Strike and get that bad boy in arsenal. Boy, this hand sucks. Let me tell you. Warrior's Valor? Mistake? Bro. Who's going to let him know? He's got no guaranteed go again. Bro, this hand is hot dog water, bro. I mean, I could tone, but like that's just too risky with that hand. Especially with a supremacy out. He's got no guaranteed go again. Yep, this does kind of play around that. Um, he is over by 1, but we have the insurance policy. So we can just tell him to go get wrecked. And then here we have an option. We can make a Rune Chant swing Rosetta, but I kind of in favor because this is a big tempo match. I kind of like arsenaling the Force. For that reason. And so the plan here is we're just going to take this Dawnblade. He probably gets a counter here. He has a glint more than likely, or he'll pop boots. And then we're going to Force Fuse, Bramble Fuse, make a Rune Chant, Infectious Host, yada, yada, yada. And then Arsenal the D-React to potentially reset the Dawnblade. Pitch Iron Song Response or another Twinning Blade. Cool. You got it. Now here we do have the option to stop the counter generation here. I don't hate it. I actually like it. Let's go ahead and rip that, cover this up, make him play out his card if he wants to. Okay, he did have it. Okay. That is A-okay. I was worried about the possibility of getting too many cards and not being able to arsenal. But now he has a counter and he's facing a pretty big on hit. He's got some armor, but unfortunately it's 8, not 7. So he has to give me 2 cards here unless he has a D-React. That Levier was probably the best game so far. It was a good one. It was a good one. Okay, now I could Tunic counter Rosetta, but this is not the arsenal. And we've seen too many Tome of Harvest to hope to get bailed out. We blocked with 1. I think we pitched 1. So... and then I draw it. But we could have played it anyway, so it actually worked out. Here, it's actually pretty easy. I'll just put him on Better Habit. I don't hate it. He doesn't have Go again. Yeah, I'll just put him on Better Habit. And then I'm all for he routed the Force of Nature because it was the only card he could route to make it where he was over by 1 because the Force of Nature was blocking 4, not 3. So yeah, to hit, because technically I overblocked by 3 with my D-React, but he actually had to pick Force of Nature. Because it was blocking 4 on that chain. It was the only way he could go over by 1. Because I was blocking 14 on his 8. And we'll just go and get Tunic counter Rosetta in while we're just hanging out, and then we'll Arsenal Snatch and try to close it out. Yeah, Tome is Tome's 2 block, yeah. Yeah, he played it 100% correct on the route. On the route. Okay. Kind of weird here, but he's at 6. This card he arsenaled last turn and he didn't have it then, so why would he have it now? So I think we could just try to play disciplined here, though. I know the play is probably just give Nimblism, give and take Rosetta, but I think given he didn't have it last turn, so I put him on not having it. So here I can just do this into this and then set this up for the Rosetta Thorn on the next turn while also getting a little bit of armor and 2 cards. Just didn't want to give him the value on that Spoils of War. Wanted to make it mad inefficient. Arsenal, and this is a hand. I'll be honest. I think we're just gonna use sinks and like literally just try to find a hand that works. Um, Give and take is the lowest hanging fruit. At least we can make a rune chant or turn on Rosetta Thorn. So we will sink the give and take. All right, and he gave that one up. So G and G. All right. And it's 11. So I think we're going to close it out. Solid solid games though. We went 5-1. We dropped the game to what was it? What was the game we lost? I don't even remember. I know we lost one. I just can't recall. Oh yeah, the Riptide one. Yeah, because we hard whiffed on the 5-card Sonata. That's right. That's the one that we we lost. The one where we paid 3 cards and got literally nothing out of it. Yeah. So thanks everybody for showing up. I really do appreciate it. Good night, Hunter. Everybody, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. I know that before everybody goes, real quick, the only thing that I can like logically see that people can do to get like competitive value from now until the new set is Monarch Draft. Okay, with that being said, if you want to participate in Monarch Drafts that myself will be participating in, some other people, I know Dark Odious was doing some with us during for Outsiders. If you want, sign up in our Discord. Just be in the Discord, and usually we will ping people and say, hey, looking for Monarch Drafts, right? Because there's not a real reason to be testing CC right now, because there's a new set, there's possible bans on the other side of it, right? So much going on. So if you're interested in drafting online, of course, Monarch Draft on the Draft Fab website or whatever it's called, hop in the Discord, and we will be sending messages out probably starting this weekend, asking people if they are interested in drafting Monarch. So if you want to, you're more than welcome. Hop in and look for those messages and join us in some draft. A great way to get some practice in for Nats. At worst, let's say you're not going to Nats, whether it be due to invite reasons or whatever, or plane tickets are insane going to Vegas right now. But if that is the case and you can't go, there's the pre-release. The pre-release is Monarch Draft, right? So get some practice for that. Take down those pods, get you some cold foils. Maybe that pays for the trip to Vegas. Maybe. We'll see. But thanks everybody for joining me. If you want to participate in some Monarch Draft, hop in the Discord. Look out for those messages. Thanks for everybody for showing up, and I'll see you next Wednesday.